I had to make sure, you see, because all our problem children normally wear is slippers. A man who really wants to commit suicide can do it with shoelaces, if he's dedicated. That's something all of us know. They were nodding. He put it on his lap and got the ends of the laces crossed over all right, but then he was stuck. He said he was pretty sure someone had showed him how to do it when he was a lad, maybe his father or maybe one of the boyfriends his mother had after the father was gone, but he'd forgot the knack. I'm with Brutal. I still don't see what your shoe has to do with whether or not coffee killed the Dederick twins, Dean said. So I went over the story of the abduction and murder again, what I'd read that hot day in the prison library with my groin sizzling and Gibbons snoring in the cummer, and all that the reporter, Hammersmith, told me later. The Dederick's dog wasn't much of a biter, but it was a world-class barker, I said. The man who took the girls kept it quiet by feeding it sausages. He crept a little closer every time he gave it one, I imagine, and while the mutt was eating the last one, he reached out, grabbed it by the head, and twisted. Broke its neck. Later, when they caught up with Coffee, the deputy in charge of the posse, Rob McGee, his name was spotted a bulge in the chest pocket of the biballs Coffee was wearing. McGee thought at first it might be a gun. Coffee said it was a lunch, and that's what it turned out to be, a couple of sandwiches and a pickle, wrapped up in newspaper and tied with butcher's string. Coffee couldn't remember who gave it to him, only that it was a woman wearing an apron. Sandwiches and a pickle but no sausages, Brutal said. No sausages, I agreed. Course not, Dean said. He fed those to the dog. Well, that's what the prosecutor said at the trial, I agreed, but if Coffee opened his lunch and fed the sausages to the dog, how'd he tie the newspaper back up again with that butcher's twine? I don't know when he even would have had the chance, but leave that out of it, for the time being. This man can't even tie a simple granny knot. There was a long moment of thunderstruck silence, broken at last by Brutus. Holy shit, he said in a low voice. How come no one brought that up at the trial? Nobody thought of it, I said, and found myself again thinking of Hammersmith, the reporter, Hammersmith who had been to college in Bowling Green, Hammersmith who liked to think of himself as enlightened, Hammersmith who had told me that mongrel dogs and Negroes were about the same, that either might take a chomp out of you suddenly, and for no reason. Except he kept calling them your Negroes, as if they were still property but not his property. No, not his. Never his. And at that time, the South was full of Hammersmiths. Nobody was really equipped to think of it, Coffey's own attorney included. But you did, Harry said. Goddamn, boys, we're sittin' here with Mr. Sherlock Holmes. He sounded simultaneously joshing and awed. Oh, put a cork in it, I said. I wouldn't have thought of it either, if I hadn't put together what he told Deputy McGee that day with what he said after he cured my infection, and what he said after he healed the mouse. What? Dean asked. When I went into his cell, it was like I was hypnotized. I didn't feel like I could have stopped doing what he wanted, even if I'd tried. I don't like the sound of that, Harry said, and shifted uneasily in his seat. I asked him what he wanted, and he said, just to help. I remember that very clearly. And when it was over and I was better, he knew. I helped it, he said. I helped it, didn't I? Brutal was nodding. Just like with the mouse. You said. You helped it, and Coffey said it back to you like he was a parrot. I helped Dell's mouse. Is that when you knew? It was, wasn't it? Yeah, I guess so. I remembered what he said to McGee when McGee asked him what had happened. It was in every story about the murders, just about. I couldn't help it. I tried to take it back, but it was too late. A man saying a thing like that with two little dead girls in his arms, them white and blonde, him as big as a house, no wonder they got it wrong. They heard what he was saying in a way that would agree with what they were seeing, and what they were seeing was black. They thought he was confessing, that he was saying he'd had a compulsion to take those girls, rape them, and kill them. That he'd come to his senses and tried to stop.